Our constitution guarantees to us the right to freedom of religion, which is contained in Article 25, 26, 27 and 28 of our constitution. The first Article 25 subclause 1 speaks about freedom of conscience and the freedom to profess, practice and propagate religion. What is this right? Article 25 subclause 1 says that subject to public order, morality, health and other provisions of this part, all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience, right to freely profess, the right to freely practice and to propagate religion. Article 25 subclause 1 says that this freedom of religion cannot be practiced to violate other provisions of this part, that is the fundamental rights which are mentioned in part 3 of the constitution. Besides that, religion cannot violate public order or morality or health, maybe of oneself or anybody else. Let us look at the ingredients of Article 25 subclause 1. Firstly, it says that every person has the freedom to conscience. What is a conscience? Conscience is the inner voice of an individual which gives us the ability to judge right or wrong. That means, as is promised by the preamble, which says that we have been guaranteed liberty of faith, belief and worship. So, to believe in the right thing, we believe in our conscience and whatever the conscience says. So, every person has a right or a freedom to follow his conscience. That is the first guarantee under Article 25 subclause 1. Secondly, to profess. Profess means to declare one's own religion to the whole world. That means we say that I am practicing this religion. This is my religion. So, everyone has a right to declare that he belongs to a particular religion or he follows a particular religion. That is the first right, to profess one's own religion. The second right is to practice one's own religion. Now, what is the meaning of practice? In every religion, there are certain rituals or some procedures which are prescribed by that religion to be practiced by everyone who follows that religion. This means that every person is free, has the fundamental freedom to practice those rituals and those procedures of worship which are prescribed by his own religion. Thirdly, every person has a right to propagate his religion. That means he has a right to spread his religion and communicate all his religious beliefs to another person. He can declare to the whole world about the goodness of his religion. But the right to propagate does not mean that he has a right to forcibly convert somebody else to his own religion. That is prohibited, and the Supreme Court has held that spreading one's religious beliefs does not mean forcible conversion. Now, let us come to the exception to this Article 25 subclause 1. Article 25 subclause 2 says that state can make any law to regulate or restrict any activity. That activity can be economic, financial, political or any secular activity, but which is associated with religious practice. That means the people associate that particular activity with religious practice. For example, if a person wants to commence his accounts on a particular day according to his religion, he follows Diwali or he follows the first day of the new year, or the Parsis follow the new year and they want to commence their accounts books or that year's account or the financial year according to that. Now, financial activity is a secular activity, and therefore, if even they associate it with religious practice, the state can make a law and say that for the sake of uniformity, we can have one practice for the whole country, that is, everyone shall end their accounts or their financial year on the 31st of March and commence the new year on the 1st of April. This is not prohibited. This is one example that state can make any law to regulate any activity which is not religious activity. It is economic, financial, political or secular, which is associated with religious practice. Secondly, state can also provide for social welfare and reform, or the state can throw open Hindu religious institutions of a public character to all classes of Hindus or all sections of Hindus. In some temples or in some institutions, it is prescribed that only a part of the sections of Hindus or only some Hindus or some classes of Hindus can enter the temple or that particular religious institution. Here the state can make a law, throwing open of those institutions to all Hindus. It is also provided for social welfare and reform. For example, if there is some practice which has to be removed according to the state policy, it is against the public policy and it is harmful to the people, maybe the state wants to reform, then the state can make a law to remove that particular practice, though it is a religious practice. Freedom to manage religious affairs is the marginal note of this article, and it says that subject to public order, morality and health, every religious denomination or any section of any religious denomination shall have the right to establish and maintain institutions for religious purposes or for charitable purposes. That is a collective right. Article 25 is a individual right, but Article 26 is a collective right which belongs to all sections of people who belong to a particular denomination or to a particular religious class. Secondly, the religious denomination has a right to manage its own affairs in that institution in the matters of religion in whatever manner it wants, and there will be no control or no regulation on that. That is the second right. The third freedom is that institution has a freedom or a right, it can own and acquire any movable and immovable property and keep it and maintain it for that religious or charitable institution. Fourthly, that religious denomination can administer its own property in accordance with the law. These are the four rights of religious institutions. Coming to Article 27, payment of taxes for promotion of any religion, that is the marginal note. The question is whether a person can be compelled to pay taxes for promoting any religion or for maintaining any religion. Article 27 goes along with the other articles. It says that no person shall be compelled to pay any taxes for promotion or maintenance of any religious denomination or any religion. If a person follows a religion, he is free to follow it. Even the state cannot compel any person to pay any taxes for that purpose. Then the fourth article, which is a very important article, that is Article 28. It speaks about educational institutions. Whether religious instruction or religious worship can be allowed in educational institutions is the question. Now, Article 28 classifies the educational institutions into four categories. First of all, it says that when the institution is wholly maintained by the state funds, then religious instruction cannot be allowed in that institution. Secondly, if the institution is administered by the state, but it is established under any trust or endowment which requires that religious instruction should be carried out in that particular institution, in such cases religious instruction or prayers or worship can be allowed in such institution. Thirdly, any institution which is recognized by the state or any institution which receives aid out of state funds, in such institutions religious instruction can be allowed, but there is a rider. The consent of that student who attends the institution has to be taken. If that student is a minor, then the consent of his guardian or his parent has to be taken and the religious instruction can be allowed with the consent. These are the four kinds of institutions, and we see that when there is a prayer class where religious instruction is given, then these things have to be followed compulsorily. There is one case relating to this, that is Bijoy Emmanuel versus State of Kerala, in which one boy refused to even sing the national anthem, saying that his religion did not allow him to sing any prayers, and this is a prayer for India, that is God to him. When the matter went before the Supreme Court said that if a particular denomination believes firmly that they are not allowed to sing any prayers and they relate even the national anthem to that, then he cannot be forced, he cannot be compelled to sing against his belief of religion. So, this freedom to religion has been given utmost importance under our constitution, and being a secular country, India does not interfere with anybody's religion. India is neutral to all religions. India treats all religions equally and gives us whole freedom to profess, practice and propagate our own religion. I hope you have learned something from this video. If you have liked it, please share it with anyone who you think would be interested. Please leave your comments and I would be happy to reply to them. Do subscribe to get more information on everyday law and legal studies. Thank you.